G'day, it's Brak here, and welcome to the 100th video. Yes, 100 videos. Wow, what a journey it has been. I wasn't quite sure where I'd be after 100 videos, but I'm here. I've got a brightly coloured shirt on to celebrate because, hey, everyone needs a brightly coloured shirt. This is a Q&A session, and I've got close to 30 questions. And I do apologize if this introduction is a little bit long. I really could not do this without the help of my Patreon member and for those people who have bought me coffees in the past. Your help, it's what lets me do the hobby. And in particular, my one and only Patreon, Kyle, who is also known as Gear Guts. So let's go and have a look at these questions. There's going to be the normal little intro stuff that you usually see, and then there's going to be a fat man spouting for quite a long time. So I hope you enjoy this premiere, and I'm going to be online chatting away to you, so chat to me too. Let's have some fun with this. So happy 100th to me, and thank you all for supporting this channel. I love yous all. Before I start, I just want to explain a few things. Now, I got a lot of questions of fantastic stuff, but a lot were very similar. So there I'm only going to answer that question once, but I'll mention all your names so you know who they are. And also, some of you may have asked more than one question in the same question. So I've cut them up and split them around a bit and added them with the other people who asked similar things, so it all makes sense and it doesn't look like I'm repeating myself, because no one wants to really see a fat man repeat himself, really, do they? No. Okay, so let's start with the first question, which was asked by 3 separate people, which was Marcus Castanelius, Essex Boys, and Bad Moon Bill. And yes, I'm just reading from my notes here, and they wanted to know, what clan would I play if Deathskulls wasn't a thing, or words to that effect. Now, what a horrible, horrible suggestion. That's just, yeah, look, it's a shocking thing to suggest. You should wash your mouth out with soap and have a good think about things. Look, seriously, the plan is to try and have all the clans represented, have a little small contingent, and I've got 10 freebooters in the form of flash kits, but I'm putting them aside till I work on what I want to do with freebooters. I'm currently looking at blood axes. So I've got Snitrot and about 15 commandos and 5 knobs with very specialist weapons. And I plan to do, say, 20 to 30 boys, put a war boss and a weird boy and a pain boy, and I'll go on from there. So I'm currently working on those while I'm still working on my deathskulls. So when I get a little bit sick of just painting blue and white, I can go over to green and cameo, and it's been quite fun. So thanks for that question. Slightly disturbing, but thank you. Both Bad Moon Bill and Augustus wanted to know why I chose Deathskulls. Well, I could tell you I did all the research, delved into the lore, and discovered that Deathskulls resonated with my soul, but that would be a fib. No, the fact of the matter is that I got orcs while my daughter got Space Marines. And I bought a box or two of Assault on Black Reach and went from there. And because my daughter was thinking Ultramarines, we bought a lot of blue paint. So, yeah. So that was it. Blue Orcs became a thing. Mainly, it was down to economics. Sad but true. The soul resonance thingy, that came later. Augustus also wanted to know what my favourite orc unit was. Draka 3 also wanted to know the answer to this question. And put it simply, it's got to be the War Boss. He's such a classic, really. Just love him so much. I tend to use him all the time. I think he is an auto include if you don't take the War Boss on a bike. And I don't have a War Boss on a bike. So for historic classic reasons, it has to be the War Boss. And really, you shouldn't leave for a war without one. Angus Goodleaf, he said, question time. Since the boys are always up for a good scrap, is there or has there ever been a faction that you, as a player, just would rather not play against? Good question. Now, not really. There are some that I do find a bit tougher, but I wouldn't ever knock back a game because of the faction that they run. Where I am is very competitive, so it is a tough scene, and even the friendly games can sort of be there's some high-powered lists. So it's just something that I've learnt to deal with over time, and you're going to come up against some nasty lists on the field, and it really comes down to the meta. Sometimes it can be frustrating. Like in 7, 8, in 8, I had problems with Tau, whereas in earlier editions, 5 and 6, not an issue with Tau. One army until recently, I had never got a handle on. Well, there were two, but one which I only just won a game a couple of weeks ago was against Necrons. I could never work them out, and I'm still unsure whether I have worked them out this time. And it was a 9th edition game, so I'll have to wait and see. Dark Elder, I've always had problems, but most of the Dark Elder lists have been hordes in boats. So you just try and get rid of the sailboats, and then all of a sudden, all these things jumped out. And yeah, they were quite tough. So you could imagine how much fun I had when I was in a doubles tournament when we come up against Dark Elder, or Chikari, I should be saying these days, and Necrons in the same army. It was quite a frustrating game. Marcus Castellanos has asked sort of the converse question to what Angus had written, and he wants to know my favourite faction to play against. Look, I do love a good scrap with Guard. I think it is the greatest love story told in the 40k universe between the boys and the Guard. I just think that is they're just great horde on hordish actions. The whole idea to get in there before they shoot the bejesus out of you is just a marvelous thing. And yeah, if I see a guard army, I just want to play it. I've always have, and I probably always will. Barry Kidd, look, I'm sorry, Barry. I seem to have missed your question before when I answered about why did you choose orcs over all the other armies out there, and why did I choose deathskulls? Now, yeah, look, I'm really sorry now, but I will do a recap for this. And now, with the magic of editing, you might see this first, but hopefully I'll do it so you see second. But a little recap is why I chose orcs was because my daughter wanted to get into it, and we started off with the assault on Black Reach, and she wanted to be Space Marine, so I got orcs. And why I chose Deathskulls, on the same line, she was attracted to the idea of Ultramarines, although she did change the colour up after a while. But so we first bought a lot of blue, so I just put blue on orcs and went from there. And then someone told me, and then I told me about Deathskulls. I did it the wrong way around, but oh well. It is what it is, and I play Deathskulls. Thanks for that, Barry. We Roll Dice asks, what other than green is your favourite colour for orcs? Now, I am a little bit of an orc purist. I think orcs should always be a shade of green. I know that some other people do like to paint other colours, and that's okay. And there are some really good orcs out there that aren't green, and that's quite okay. It's just not my cup of tea. So there'll always be a little bit of green in there. But having said that, having Deathskulls, I'm quite partial on putting blue war paint on them. So blue on an orc does look nice too. Well, that's kind of fun. I'm actually trying to film up here, and I'm using the cat's platform as a theme platform. And look, she's moving it. And here we go. Look, she's not happy about that. So look, quick introduction. No. Yeah, she does not. She pretends she's not interested now. So there she is. There's Tiger Lily the cat, who doesn't want me to talk about this at all. So I'm going to have to go elsewhere. 6 Plus Stevo asks, which YouTuber would you like to play a battle report with, and why? Well, I'm just a sucker for a game. I'd like to play games with all the YouTubers if I could do it. The question is that which one YouTuber am I most likely to play with would probably be the Pale Orc. He is one of the few Aussie YouTubers that I know. I'm sure there's more out there, but he's really one of the few that I know and that I'd play a game with. But he's still 2 states away, so we never know. We may meet up, we may not. But look, one day I would deeply love to get over to the United Kingdom and Europe and do a little Brak's tour. I do a Brak's World Tour and go and visit all the wonderful people I have met whilst doing this YouTube, and especially through the 40k orc community. There's some fantastic YouTubers who I would love to play a game. I would love to be able to take my army and have a go with, be part of the little mini tournament that the war bosses of the Acorpolix are doing. The one that'd be nice. So I could take a 1500 point there. I'd love to go and see me good old mate Clint, Essex boys. I'd love to play with him on his tables. Oh man, that'd be lovely. Even Big Dan Mexkull. It'd be nice to have a game with him, and even some of those people that I don't know personally. Winters would be great. Some of the other people, Mikey from is it Midwinters? Yeah. Look, hey, I will play with anyone. I I will do battle reports for battle reports quite easily. I would love to do that. And then I suppose on the way back, I should probably head over into Canada and go and play with some of the lovely fellows there. That'd be good too, wouldn't it? And then I'd have to probably go down to the States and do that. And well, the possibilities are endless, but they will probably only happen when my wallet becomes endless too. Daka Flame asks, which is your best kit for bits? And look, there's quite a few. Some favourable mentions: the truck kit, the plane kit, the jet kit. You can make so many things out of that and have so many bits left over, and even to extent the extremely expensive mech gun kit. You can, but I think my favourite. Well, I got two favourites. Disguise and disguise. So they're knobs at sort. And what I do like is that you've got quite a lot of leftovers, but there's some amazing stuff you can do with, and just have the diversity of the bits. You've got these sort of arms to play with, and the cyborg arms, and all the boss poles, and the guns come with so many sizes, so you can actually use that to make some interesting. If you want to make your own flash kit guns, or just make interesting looking custom shooters, and this guy, you know, you can get yourself a custom force field, or make up some wonderful things with the what do they call that thing? The teleporter blasters. So, for example, you know, I've turned one of those bits from the teleporter blaster into a backpack for lightning claws. There's just some fantastic bits you can do with it. So great question, Daka Flacker Flame. A great name too. Rivets and Daka asks, if time and money were in endless supply, which army besides orcs would I do next? Look, a while ago I was attracted to sisters. No, that's not a pun. It could be. And that always did appeal to me. So I'd probably give a Sisters Army would be a go. But what really, really interests me is Gene Stealer Colt. I just love some of those models. They'd be fantastic, and also that way I could do guard as well, but not kind of, So yeah, I but then again, I have been attracted by some of the Slanesh. Corn excites me. But no, I would say that if a big chunk of money landed right now, I'd probably go out and spend it on as many Gene Stealer Colt, and probably genes with a lot of Gene Stealers in. Yeah, that would definitely most be it. Thanks for that question, Rivets. Erox Miniatures asks the question, if animals could talk, which ones would be the rudest, and why? Well, look, I think your question is a tad flawed, because clearly animals can talk. It's just that humans don't know how to listen to them. Now, there is well, as some of you may be aware, back in the last century, I I did an environmental science degree and I majored in ecology and statistics. So I know a little bit about animals. And I would have to say that I think that of all those in the animal kingdom, I think the birds may be some of the rudest. Now, in Australia, our probably two most famous birds are the kookaburra, that's the one that laughs, and the Australian magpie, that's the one that has the reputation of swooping people. Now, both of those birds have great songs. The kookaburra is known for his laugh, and the magpie has a wonderful song that they love to do in the mornings. Now, in both cases, what those songs are basically saying, this is this is my territory. I got food. You can bugger off, or words to that effect. And yeah, so they're actually birds are actually quite rude. Mostly what they're saying is when they're calling out is, "Oi, come over here. I need a root," or "Oi, I've got food, but you can't have it. Bugger off." Um, yeah, so it has to be uh, the birds, or possibly the bees. They're always telling us to buzz off. Oops, mostly Zen wants to know when I got into orcs. September 2010. Yeah, I can't tell you the exact date, but it was September 2010. That's pretty accurate, isn't it? And what is it about orcs that made me fall in love with them? Or words to that effect. Well, it has to be this. So I came in 5th ed, and this is the 4th/5th ed book. And yeah, this is a beautiful, beautiful thing. I really enjoyed the randomness of it all. But I think there's a rule in here which just has so much possibilities that really sums up why I was so attracted to orcs. And it's old Zogwart and Zogwart's curse course. Zogwart's course. Old Zogwart has the ability to transform a powerful enemy into a squig. Zogwart may use his curse as a psychic power. Instead of rolling the Weird Boy psychic power chart, choose an independent character model that is in Zogwart's line of sight. If that model is within 18 inches, both players roll the dice. If the orc player scores higher, the target model is replaced with an angry squig under the control of your opponent. You must provide the squig model. It has the profile below and no war gear or special rules, but it is an independent character and counts as infantry. What a marvelous, marvelous thing. Just the whole idea that you turn someone's character and probably their warlord, although technically they didn't have warlords back in those days, and bang, it's a squig. Oh, I never got to play that, but yeah, that'd be nice. Look, looted wagons gave me the possibility. I could fangirl over this book forever. I really like some of the fluff in this. Since my first introduction to orcs was this book, so it holds a very special place in my heart. And I'm looking for look at that. The randomness of the shock attack gun. Yeah, rolling 2 1s was a bad thing. The shock attack gun explodes, leaving a crackling orb of unreality in its place. No shot is fired. Remove the mech as a casualty. Models within D6 are removed from play. Ouch. 6-6, which everyone really wanted, and I actually did win a game on this with firing one shot because he had his 3 units really close to each other. And yeah, the tunnel opens a hole into the warp itself, and a ravening cloud. Yeah, so basically anything hit by the gun was removed by play. Fantastic stuff. So I'm going to put this book away, or we could do a whole video on this. But maybe that's for another day. Great Grot. He actually asked, which Forge World unit should be included into the new Orc Codex? Well, that's an easy one. The Chinook Warcopter. Yes, the Chinook Warcopter. We really, really need that. It's very sad it's not here anymore. So we need it, and we need it to be plastic, and you better bloody do it, GW. Another question from Angus Goodleaf, and it's a little bit different. It's similar to other questions that we've had, but I'm going to address it a little bit differently here. It's what unit, model, or edition rules from prior editions, if applicable, of course, would you like to see the return of in the upcoming codex? Now, I've talked about units before, and I've also talked about old Zogward. I'd love to see him back. He would be fantastic. And yeah, look, that'd be great. Old Zogwart, all of them. Yeah, but definitely old Zogwart. And we need to be able to have. He's got to have that power. We've got to be able to turn characters into squigs. Could you imagine coming up against Robbie Girliman and just saying, bye-bye, it's squig time? Wouldn't that make him angry? And that's just one thing we'd never see enough. An upset Marine player. We definitely need more of those. I'm being a bit naughty now, aren't I? 6+ Stevo, who sort of is still struggling with the concept of question and answer. He seems to think that you got to do both. Actually asked this one as another one of his questions. Who inspired you to start a YouTube channel, and why was it me? Well, yeah, I know technically he's borderline. That is a whole question, but he did insert what the reason was, because he knows that, and I think other people do. Now, the main reason is, and we all know the reason, is because Stevo is a big deal. You just ask him, he'll tell you. Clay Ferguson asks, Mork or Gork? Well, there can only be one way to answer this. Nano. And for those people who may not get that reference, that was Mork from Mork and Mindy. And yes, I think that answers that question succinctly. I am a cunning but brutal fan. Garzinski from Rivets and Dakar asked a two-part question. What is your favourite GW single mini and why? And what is your third party favourite single? That was just wrong. I'm not reading this out, am I? Yes. So, yeah. And what is your favourite third party model and why? Well, great question. This is got to be the favourite of mine from GW. And yes, it's good old Morky. He's a favourite. I fell in love with this when it first came out. I think I saw a picture of it in White Dwarf and went, got to have me one of those. And I was very, very hopeful that this would be the orcs' answer to all those horrible knights that were making their way on the table around that same time, especially the elder one that was really annoying to play against. Sadly, it wasn't, although this did actually in one game manage to win a shooting match against the Riptide. We're still not quite sure how it did it, but it did it. So that was always fun. That was a great tournament. That one, yeah, it's a shame the rules didn't match what the fluff said, but it's a beast. I absolutely love it. I have learned how to play with it. It's a big distraction that sometimes can get up and smash things, and yeah, wonderful. This very rarely is not on a table when I play games. And as for the second part of the question, the third party, I don't have that many third party models. Really, I've got a few. I've got a few extra heads. I won something from Cromlech as a prize support once, which I split up and just use it to get bashed with other stuff. Yeah, the only really foray I've done into third party is Gear Guts. So there's this lovely beast which I absolutely love, the Dakar tank, and this thing, my new Brak, the cyborg boss. Now he's probably my favourite model of all time at the moment, and it was a pleasure to paint. Just beautiful, beautiful stuff. And I will be getting more Gear Guts models in the future, thanks to OTP Terrain, because they have the Australian license, which means I don't have to worry about shipping and times. Well, there's a little bit of shipping. They're in Perth. Dakar Flame. Do you read the fluff? He asks. And what is your favourite stories? Well, I'm not a real big fluff reader, I'm sorry to say. Dakar, I got a couple of stories, a couple of books, not many. So I got Damnos, which was okay, and Angels of Darkness was a little better, but boy, aren't Space Marines and Sufferable Turds so far up their bottoms, one sneeze and I suspect they would turn into donuts. So, and that's one of the biggest thing I don't like about the fluff. Now, there were some good stories in here, but the Wolves won. No. It's all Imperial propaganda, if you want my opinion. Now, the best place for fluff, now I have mentioned this before, or maybe I'll mention it in the future, is here. There's some great little stories in here. Everyone loves the story of Tusker, and what about the Return of the Beast and the War Without End? There's some great stuff here. Some fantastic stuff. So I'd like to read more, and I really want to read the book, which I can't think of at the moment. It's just a recent Orc release, which does take from the Orc perspective. I hear it's really good, and you never know. Maybe Santa Claus might get me it for Christmas. One never knows your luck in the big city, or so they say. Michael Studio asks, what would you like to see in a 9th edition Orcs Codex? And he sort of goes to clarify it by what I mean by that. What models would you like to see back, or what should they be made? Now, look, I have answered what new model I would like elsewhere, and so I'm not going to touch on that here. Now, depending on where I place this video in the order of things, you may already know that answer, or it's something for you to look forward to. Okay, so let's get with the other part of the question. So what unit would I like to see? Quick cop out, everything currently in the index, and that includes Forge World units. Yeah, really. That is probably the quick cop. I'd like to see them all back. That'd be nice. But if you put a gun to my head and said you can only have one and one choice only, and I could make that happen, then it would have to be looted wagons. Oh, it's just all a bit weird at the moment. Now, while reviewing some of these questions, I thought I had actually done this video and was about to get in and do the editing part, but then I had noticed that there are more questions in the comments section on YouTube than there are on the comments section when I read YouTube on the laptop. Who knows why? Maybe Zence is toying with me. Who knows? It's just a mystery. It's an empuzzlement. Most confusing but anyway, I am sort of rambling here. It's been a bit of a long day today, but I have a few more questions I need to answer. And this one is from Cameron Cooper. He wants to know how I got into the hobby and why I chose deathskulls. Now, we've talked about deathskulls before and those reasonings, so I won't repeat myself here. But you've either, depending on where this slots in, because I'm going to be mixing them all up, it's just to be one big jumble mess. It sort of reflects my life. So you'll either you'll know that story, or it's going to be a surprise. I think I've done that gag a couple of times. Oh, I am repeating myself. Must have been the beans. Yep, sorry. I'm a dad. Do dad jokes. That's all there is to it. So let's talk about how I got into the hobby. And yes, it was about 10 years ago. And that would mean that my daughter was 8. And she and my wife took her to the shops, and they used to go to a big shopping centre. And one of the things was they used to have a look at, used to go to the pet store, oodle over the pet store, cuddle some pets, and then they'd go and have a look at a few other things. And as they were walking past the pet store, sort of across from it was a games workshop. And she said, "Oh, can I go in there? That looks interesting." So they went in there. They met a lovely fellow who owned the store. I'm not going to mention his name, but he's a nice guy. And they had a chat. But all this was happening unbeknownst to me. I was in a high-rise building in an outer CBD suburb, sitting in front of a screen, looking at spreadsheets, going, as I do. And the phone rang. I went, "Oh, that's the phone. I should answer that." And it was the wife. And she says, "I've got something to tell you. Emily and I, we went into Games Workshop. We had a little painting test, and she really wants to do more painting, and she wants to do Space Marines. Should we do it?" And look, the secret of the story is that it's something that I have always wanted to do. I had never sort of got into it. My friend base weren't there. I'd done a little bit. I had played Hero Quest a long, long time ago. So I was, and I had a Space Crusade game as well, and I really wanted to, but for reasons I never got into it. I went, "Here's a good chance to get into it." So I said, "All right, let's check it out." So on the next it was the next day. It was Thursday. It was Thursday night. So it was Thursday night shopping. So I went in, had a look, had a chat, and lo and behold, 10 years later, I'm painting orcs. Cheers. I hope you enjoyed that story. Socrates Kentora Matusor, I hope I've pronounced that right. Please forgive me if I have butchered your name. Has actually asked, well, he wanted to know how many cheesy kill tanks I am going to grind through, and I suppose that means to make, once I'm done with my knobs. Well, sadly, since I actually don't have any kill tanks, I can't really grind through them at this moment in time. So the answer is going to be none. However, I do plan to get some in the future. So stay tuned. The epic narrator wants to know, which orc would I vote for as an Australian Prime Minister? Well, yeah, okay. Well, the correct answer would be none, because you need to be an Australian citizen to become Prime Minister, or even to be voted in as a federal member of Parliament. Face too close? I sound like I'm sort of lecturing you. So yes, one, it wouldn't happen, and two, orcs are mythical creatures, and you shouldn't really go around voting for mythical creatures, even though there are some people who like to vote on behalf of mythical creatures, but that's another point entirely. But okay, let's say if we could, I'm not quite sure I would. There would be only one orcoid that I, as a rabid lefty, could ever vote for, and that is the Red Gobbo. Viva la revolution. Third question for Marcos. He's an inquisitive fellow, isn't he? It's about, what do you listen to when you hobby? Now, I have three types of different things that I sort of listen to. Or the one is, I do a lot of YouTube, so I tend to do a lot of my hobbying on the weekend. I record and plan and write videos during the week, as it's sort of my job, and then on the weekend I actually then paint. So I've got a lot of YouTube videos I need to watch. So that's the perfect time for doing that. And so lots of painting tutorials, especially trying to catch up on games. So YouTube and Twitch is always sort of fun to paint to. I also am a member of the Warhammer, the Warhammer 40k Orc community on Discord, not Disco. That'd be a great disco, wouldn't it? Anyway, so they're on. They have a Discord, and they do a lot of chatting. And I have had a lot of hobby hangouts there, just chatting with many fine, wondrous people from all over the globe. It's great. You get there, you can paint, you can talk about painting, you can talk about all sorts of weird ass shit, and that's great. Now, sometimes I do listen to music. I have a very eclectic taste, and I either listen to one of the local radio stations, which is Double J. You can get that online, so Google that in. It's a great radio station, contemporary. I play some old stuff. There's some new stuff, stuff that, and it's sort of run by it's the national broadcaster, and yeah, great mix. But I'm not doing that. Spotify. I have just listened to all the music that I like to listen to. With Spotify, every Monday I do my weekly suggestions, listen to that, and if I like any, I add them over to my list, which I have called Hip before hipsters was a thing, and there's probably about there's hundreds of hours of music on that, so I just randomise that and just listen, because it's always fun. And there's some old stuff from the 80s and the punk and the funk, and a bit of metal, a bit of country. There's some strange pop, but a lot of it is generational FU society music, which is sort of where I roll. So yeah, YouTube videos, FU music, and hanging out with the lovely orc community on Discord is how I like to do my hobby yeah. Yeah, great question, Marcos. Okay, first question while sitting down and relaxing is from Sinoshaw Wolf, or is it Kinoshaw? I think it's Sinoshaw, seems to. That's how I would pronounce it, but I could be wrong. And he wants to know, if time, space, and money were limitless, what would you build? Well, that is a bit of a head scratching question, that one. Oh, the possibilities. Now, when I was thinking about this question, when I saw it a couple of days ago, my mind went to GW and just go through all the collections one by one, and just did that. But thinking about it and seeing that I now seem to be sort of enamored with the Gear Guts Mech Shop range, I think I'd probably start there first and then go through and do each unit one by one until I ran out. But seeing that Gear Guts is known to just keep adding more stuff, it may never end. The Essex boys asked, and I am reading it, what was the first paid job you ever had? Well, that's got me scratching the noggin a bit. I would have been, well, the laws back then, you couldn't start working until you were about 14 and a half, 15. So I was about 15. So that would have been 1982. Yes, I'm that old. And that's when I first started looking for work. It was a afternoon job. I was a trolley pusher for a local department store in the town that I lived. I lived in Gladstone, which is in central Queensland, and at that time there was about 35,000 people living there. So it was a Australian standards, reasonable size, and they only had one shopping mall. It was a relatively new one. It came out in about 81, I think. Don't quote me on that. So yeah, 1982, got a job as a trolley pusher for one of the department stores. It was on Thursday nights and Saturday mornings. There was no 24-hour shopping then. The only times you could go to the shops after normal working hours was on Thursday nights up to about 9 o'clock, and on Saturday mornings from 8 till about midday. And yeah, that's right. I used to go out to the car park, collect the trolleys, bring them back, and if I was lucky, I got to check out the checkout chicks and chat up the checkout chicks. So yeah, great job. It's probably the first time that I realised that workplace relationships were a thing. A very interesting thing that may have been fraught with danger. But that's another story. Sean M wants to know, what would be my dream vehicle to loot? Well, being a Deathskulls player, all of them. I need to loot all the things. And I usually say that a lot when I'm playing. So if my opponent has lots of vehicles and I kill one, I say I'm going to loot that, and they usually say no, or they may laugh. It depends. Some people don't know whether to take me seriously or not. I never do either. Yep. If it's a vehicle, I gotta loot it, and I don't care. Brak does not discriminate. Draka3 like to know what was my first model I ever kit bashed, and what kit bash am I most proud of? Now, as luck would have it, they're right behind me. Here's the memory is a bit foggy, but I think this boss knob, is the first one. So what I basically did there was take the arm off an assault on Blackreach Warboss and stuck him to this guy. I'm not quite sure why I did it, but I did it. Although there also was a boss pole here that was from an elder kit and had all the waves and the sails, and I did write in the Orcs letter for FNU on it, but it's broken, it's gone, and unfortunately I couldn't show it to you. I'm awfully sorry about that. This is, yeah, look, I think it's the first one. It's got to be pretty close to it. Now, my favourite, I've got a bit of, what I'm most proud of is, I've got two here. Now, this is something I've done recently. I would say this is probably about a week and a half old. No, beginning. I finished this model on the 31st of October, so it's over a month old. It's over a month old, and because I did that, I couldn't enter it into the November challenge, and it's a knob, deathskulls, and it counts as double kill saw, and he's a nunchucking wheeled kill saw guy, and I am absolutely love this idea. It's just wonderful to do, and yeah, he's definitely my favorite. Well, Kit Bash favorite, yeah, on the field, fantastic. But there is another model that I've got here, which I did Kit Bash, but it probably won't see the battlefield. And this was part of an Orc challenge that I put out, a couple of months ago. And this is me as an Orc. So a little bit of a Kit Bash there. That the gun is from an Ogre kit, and there's a little tank buster bomb, and that's a head from Mecha Minis. And yeah, he's meant to represent me. And there is a video about that, and hopefully, to the magic of editing, you should see it around about there somewhere, if I've done my job right. So there you have. Isn't that surprising? All the kit bashes I can show you were knobs, and I don't think that was planned. Another question from Marcos, and he wants to know what unit would I like to see in the Orcs, which they don't currently have, and why. Now, this is a great question, and I have wanted this idea for a very, very long time. Now, Khorne have those Khorne hounds, a small unit of little red puppy dogs that used to sort of be the front runners and go in and attack the front lines and just cause mayhem. I always thought that Orcs could do with a unit like that, but squigs, maybe a bigger attack squig with, you know, 10, 15, 20, just sitting there, and they'd be a fast attack that would go there, and the whole idea was to go into the front lines and just rip the hell out of it. Yeah, and they probably sound a bit like that. I reckon that'd be great. What do you think? Now, Steve-O's getting a little mischievous here. He wants to know who is your favourite person to hang out with on Discord. Nah, I'm not answering that one. This face might look stupid, but no one really is this stupid. Another deep, thinky question from Sinosure Wolf. If you had total control over it, what would be the next big war game to be produced? Now, I'm a little bit unsure what you mean here. Do you mean like next box set in 40K to be produced? Or do you mean a total new universe war games? I'm a bit unsure what you mean. So I am going to attempt to answer both questions. Now let's go with what would I like to see as a box set. Well, really, I'd like to see another Orc box set and follow the whole Indomitus set type thing. New models, new story, be great. That'd be fantastic. Orcs the main character, but let's not have Space Marines or Primaris. Lev has something else. Why not do a twist on the Indomitus and make it against Necrons? That'd be great. That could hark to the old days of the Krork. Maybe what's going to happen is that with the return of the Silent King, some latent genetic code is awakening within Orcs, and we just have to rush together to beat the old ancient foe which we were first made to defeat. That's what I'd like to see. That'd be a great box to do. Now, if that wasn't what you were asking, and that you're liking a big sport war game, do you know what I would like to see? I would like to see a Star Trek-esque battle game, but not to do with the ships. I think we've seen that around before, and there's a little bit. So I would like to see all the various different races, and you could make it very similar. So Federation-esque, Klingons, the Romulan Empire, the Borg, Ferengi, but fighting on planets using their weapons, that sort of stuff, skirmishes. Yeah, even the Dominion would be great. Borg? Look, I reckon that'd be great. I really, that idea, but none of the spaceships, the skirmish spaceship idea doesn't really interest me all that much, or I'd be playing X-Wing, but I'm not. I play 40K because I'd like to go pew, 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 rah, rah, rah. That's so. Yeah, what do you reckon, guys? Star Trek on planets, battling people, getting it out, phasers against bat'leths, against whatever crazy weapons the Jem'Hadar had. I can't remember now. Yeah, some Cardassian trickery. Ferengi trying to sell you weapons from the Romulan Empire. Yeah. Oh, this has got the whole brain doing. So I know Shaw Wolf. Whoops, hit the camera. That's very unprofessional. But thank you for that question. It really got my brain going, and that needs to happen every now and then, or it just could freeze and yeah. 6 Plus Stevo asks, what is your favourite copy? And then he says, correct answer is cappuccino. And you know what? He possibly is right. I actually discovered the joys of cappuccinos a bit later in life. I used to be an instant fan. Actually, I wasn't quite sure what that real stuff was until I was about 25. But that's just a story that for another time. But cappuccinos, have loved cappuccinos, and I have loved them ever since that movie from what's his name, Bruce Willis, Hudson Hawk, which in my opinion is the most important movie and the best movie ever made by that guy. In fact, he probably should have stopped making movies after that, because really, after that, there is no going back. And Hudson Hawk, loved a cappuccino, and I do too. The Drunken Orc. No, not this one. Another one. He's the Drunken Orc. Anyway, he asked if I only play orcs, or do I have other armies? Look, I've got about 5,000 points of Dark Angels, and they're all silver and black and red in the colors of the Guardians of the Covenant, and I do like enjoying playing with them. But and I have a considerable amount of Ravenwing in there as well, and some Deathwing, which you'll probably see in future battle reports. But that's coming up later. Yeah, look, I do like it, because especially with the Ravenwing, it makes me play a different style. Whereas orcs are my love. And another part of that question was, what percentage do I have painted, unpainted, and unbuilt? Now, I've got probably 9,000 points of orcs. Now, I would say that 90% of those have been painted, although I am going to redo some of that painting because I'm not happy with it, or that they already came pre-painted. So, but that's probably about 70% that fully painted that I'm not going to repaint. So about 10, 9.9% of my orcs are unpainted, and I only have 5 boys that are unbuilt, and they're going to be sent away to someone who's going to win the giveaway that I've got. That's going to be next video. I'll be announcing who the winner for that is. Now, Stevo asks again, what other hobbies do I have? And, well, other hobbies, that is. And what I actually do like is nature. I'm a big fan of observing nature and seeing what it does. So we're just going to have this little magpie here, and she's come down and she's looking for a bit of food. So we like to give them a bit of cat food because they're good high energy with a bit of calcium in, so it's good for their beaks. And she's had her second pup, so just do that. Oh, look, here you go. Here you go. And you sit here and we can watch her go over. Nope, she's a little bit cautious. Maybe I'm a little bit too close. There we go. And she's going to eat that, get a bit of energy, and then she's going to go and find some proper food to give to her young, which you may or may not be able to hear having a little cry in the background. No, it stopped. And that's what they do. They'll come and get this nice big fast food for them, so they get the energy, but they won't introduce their they won't introduce it to their kids until they're a little bit older. So, yes, I like to observe nature. And there's your ecology lesson for the day. Thanks, Devo. I hope you enjoyed this video. You can show your appreciation by liking, sharing, and subscribing. Also, please don't forget to hit that notification bell so you can catch all my latest videos. Due to the global Nurgle related circumstances, I'm currently doing this full time. I would really appreciate it if you could show your support by becoming a Patreon member. For as little as $3 US, you can help me with my hobby and filming equipment. If you feel you can't commit long term, then you can always buy me a coffee. The links will be below in the description.